Okay, the reason why we record, we post this on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, so please check us out on YouTube and subscribe and like and make comments. We're just trying to, up our traffic on that, our YouTube station. And also we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Instagram. So we're on all those streaming platforms. And we also do a podcast. We talk about film. And we also talk about, the screenwriting process, or the screenplay to the movies. Um, and also, Jeff is being a little bit humble because he just DP'd on one of the short films that somebody in, one of the short films that one of our members wrote and we peer reviewed. So, because that's always been our goal, not just screenwriting, but also it's kind of like we call it script to screen. So, yeah, that just wrapped up, and he has to edit it and everything like that. And we will continue to do that because we do have another script that somebody wrote, a short that we should be working on pretty soon. And we did have a series, like it was a series like through a certain period of time where we would just focus on short scripts, and because we were looking for material to kind of like shoot. We call it resource filmmaking, where we have a place that we have access to, couple, not too many characters, because it's easier to find people, have access to people, because we have too many characters. It's kind of hard to kind of coordinate everything. I mean, me and Jeff, we worked on a short that I wrote a couple years ago, and it's like it's easier to, like, the less characters that you have that could commit to the project, and it's just easier because it's harder when you have to coordinate so many people. But anyways, it's not just short. It could even be a feature where we could take a scene, um, and we could do. We've done table reads. So we've done a few things over the years. Just on top of these these feedback that we do bi-weekly. So we do also do it on Saturday, every other Saturday, and every other Tuesday. Before we used to do it Saturday, we kind of extended that. So thanks for Karis for heading the Tuesday feedback virtual meeting. And we've even like films, like when I have one of our members who's done a feature film, and we kind of did like a red carpet. We did interviews, and on stage, even outside. You know, um, so we've been working. So welcome to all to members. Glad to see you.
All right, yeah, that was excellent, Kenyatta. Yeah, I wanted to get into that later, but yeah, certainly. So yeah, I just finished DPing a member script. We filmed all the way up in the middle of nowhere, New Hampshire. This great set of that's just perfect for the horror movie field we were going for. But yeah, that is what we're hoping to do in the near future with either a scene from a feature or a short. Yeah, just full on, just help the writer film and go help them through the filmmaking process. Just beyond just the scripting. So that is some future prospects that we are starting to work on more seriously. But we'd want to give both Ryan and Thais a little bit to introduce themselves to us too. So either one of you want to go? Ryan, since it's your script, I'll give you the time to give you a little bit of intro to start us off.
Sure. My name is Ryan Kavanaugh. I live in Salem, Mass. I have basically, for earlier in my career, I did hunting and fishing shows, like shooting and editing and sort of producing the post-production process. And then I wrote and directed a cooking show that's like a startup, and then did a bunch of commercials on the marketing end and like some online content stuff for Vistaprint. It's like an e-commerce company. And then, COVID sort of started, and I had written stuff earlier, like in the 2000s and stuff, and but hadn't really gotten back into it because I was really editing stuff that was like more reality based and directing stuff that was, I was more into that end of it, and wasn't really long form. So at the beginning of COVID, no productions were happening and stuff. So I was like, how can I like maximize this time? And I was like, I just gotta immerse myself in writing. And I kind of had 3 or 4 script ideas that I wanted to be finished with when production started happening. The idea was to do, by the time something could be produced, have something written that could be produced. So I got a couple of them sort of done. I mean, they're never done because even like this one, there's stuff I feel like I want to rewrite. But I'm trying to finish something else before I go to rewriting this stuff. But anyway, that's kind of where I am. I'm more like, I started out as an editor, I became a director, and I'm trying to like sort of get use what I learned in those 2 skills in the writing end.
Excellent. Yeah, certainly. Definitely making the most of, just this weird time that we're going through. Definitely is definitely is one way to cope. But Thais, do you want to go a little bit about?
Yeah, I'm Thais. This is my first meeting here in the group. I am from a different field. My background is in psychology. Now I work in HR. And I've been thinking about moving, but I wasn't really sure of what I want to do. I was thinking about this whole quarantine time. And yeah, film came to me, screenwriting, and it's something that I want to check on, especially during my time that I'll be in the US. I want to dive in and see if it is something that resonates with me. And yeah, I want to see how it is the work, how it is the industry, and I think this is a good opportunity to see how things work in the screenwriting.
Yeah, we'll try to provide that. And now, where are you currently from? Or
I am from Brazil. I've been around many places, and I'm currently on Middle East in Oman.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Big time difference then, huh? It's
yeah, it's 2 now.
Oh, it's 2 a.m. for you? Wow, your dedication is awesome. Wow, that is great. But yeah, so we don't want to spend we shouldn't waste too much of your sleeping time then over there. So let's just go right into we can go right into Ryan's script. That I'm thankful everyone was able to get to it. I guess I gave enough time for everyone to read it. The Occiput eye. Is that a
I really don't know the medical.
You don't know. You don't know. Occiput eye. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so yeah, a feature-length script that. Do you want to? Okay, well, you already gave your background on that.
Well, and just so you know, if you see me writing, I'm not like texting my buddies or Facebook updating.
No.
I'm gonna take some notes.
You gotta take notes. Yeah, by all means, take notes. No, definitely understood. Okay, so yeah, so I think I went over the ground rules a little bit, but just as a reminder, the first round, what we're getting into right now, are the positives, what we liked most about the script. And then we move on in round 2 after all that is settled to the needs for improvement, critiques, and suggestions for Ryan, how to follow up, to continue on with this work. So does anyone want to get us with all that settled? Does anyone want to start us off with round 1? Positives, good stuff?
Well, I will say this, that it is very different. Now, for some reason, when I saw the title, I thought it was going to be a horror. But once I read it, so okay, I changed my mind on that. So, but I do want to say that, and I've said this before, that people complain that you have movies, have all these sequels and reboots and stuff like that. People want something different. Well, I think this script does that. This is very different. So, and that's one thing I really appreciate, something fresh and new. Um, that's why I asked him when he wrote it, because a lot of people who read this, well, especially now, there's a movie that just came out recently that kind of reminds you, but it's done so different. It's a far different um, script than the movie that just came out. But I just noticed that in the past when I've written something and a movie would come out, and I was like, oh my God, I was gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like one of those things, you gotta hurry up and write it. You know what I mean?
The
If you wait
zeitgeist,
too
man.
long, yeah. When you wait too long, then you kind of like, damn, they came out with it first. You had no idea this person. It's like that's why they say ideas are. Everybody has ideas. It's like the fact that people can have the same ideas but just have completely different you know takes on it. So this is a completely different take to the movie that just came out recently. And
What movie are you talking about that came out recently?
if I tell you what it is,
Yeah,
if you haven't
it's
seen
kind
it,
of it's a spoiler for the movie, so
right.
unfortunately,
So,
yeah.
that's why I'm not.
I know
mentioning
exactly
it.
which one. I know exactly which one you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I appreciate the originality, and know what else I appreciate? The character, right? Now, a lot of people say this guy's a loser or whatever. I mean, but it's cool. It's all right if a character has flaws. I mean, how many times, how many movies have we seen where characters have flaws and you still, like, even Tony Stark has all these flaws, and Batman, and just a lot of stuff you could watch, and you know, and I just felt sorry for the guy, and I was cheering for the guy, and I think that's important because it felt like he was on the brink of losing his family, and it's kind of like you're sharing. You don't want him to lose a family. You know what I mean? So, it was a quick read because I want to see what happened next. So you had me. You know, I never got. You never lost me. So to speak, in terms of the story. So
That's good to hear. Thank you.
No, yeah, Ryan. I don't know if this is like one of your first writing attempts, or I don't know, or not. But yeah, this was a very easy read for 126 pages, and I don't say that very often. Even with scripts, I really do like. Sometimes there's lulls. Sometimes there's like places where I would just rather to skim through than just have to make sure I got every single word. But no, this flowed very nicely from start to finish. It's weird because especially for feature-length scripts, I tend to read the first 10 or 20 pages in order just to get a good read on it. And yeah, I figured, yeah, okay, this is well written enough. It's not unreadable for for feature-length scripts. So that's why we kind of prioritized yours. And then what happens what happens after the first act is so different from what I was expecting. But definitely, but I was still so intrigued of where you're going to take it, and where you're taking it was very intriguing. Just this ideal of sort of dual identities, and um, like how you wrestle with this person wrestles with that, and that's visualized extremely well with that. But yeah, very nice work all around. Just in general, yeah, the story again. But the best part of it, I think, for me was just the flow of your writing. It's just the ease of which I was able to get involved into this story and this world that you created.
Very nice.
I will go ahead and try to say something different because I feel the same exact way. I actually really liked the fact that I didn't like Zach when I met him. At first, I appreciated that the main character was someone I could clearly see was going to have a character arc from starting in one place and then ending in another. You made it very easy to understand the theme of like change versus acceptance, right? And it looked very normal for a middle-aged guy who's like, giving up some dreams, doesn't want to do it. It's like holding on really tight. I mean, I'm not a middle-aged guy, but I still was like, okay, he's kind of an asshole and kind of an idiot, but I'm invested. Let me keep reading. I also really liked that you infused some parallels with all of these different characters you had. And you did it very quickly, very expertly. But my favorite dynamic was probably Zach and the Eye. And I kind of got a feeling that like the Eye had its own personality. It definitely had its own way of controlling Zach's body. But you mentioned that like the Eye would look at people with emotion and would like track. And I think there was like one point where it was like crying. There was like Hat, and it was like watching a soap opera. Anyway, it was a great scene. I was like, wait, I like this. I'm rooting for the Eye as well to like not be cut out of this guy's body. And so you managed to have two main characters in a movie, and it didn't feel clunky, and it didn't mess with the pacing. And the Eye turned out to be a cornerstone in the script when it could have easily just been a plot device. And so I want to commend all of your rewriting and going through and culling things, because that was expert. Nothing was detracted. Even when you had interactions with other humans in the Eye, other humans who were not Zach, everything was very clean about it, which made it terrifyingly more believable. Like, I feel like the next time I'm standing behind someone, I'm just gonna look a little bit harder and be like, do you have an eye in the back of your head? I don't know. So it was very enjoyable for a genre that I don't really lean toward. This was refreshing enough to make me realize that, number one, you have talent, but number two, that there's space, and there's something wondrous about a story that's not cheesy but is different. So you managed to balance the two in a way that was quite successful. So thank you for that.
Thank you for that. Also, what?
Sadie's pretty awesome. Like, I love the father-daughter dynamic. He was like his only fan. I appreciated that. It was very realistic, even though she was 5. You got like the language right, and I'm a daddy's girl, so I was like, yeah, that's what it looks like. So I appreciated that. So great job.
I have 3 nieces, so it was.
I agree with everything people say. It's very catchy. I wanted to read. If I stopped, I wanted to come back to the script and read it. I want to like finish my work and read it more and see what's going to happen. The rhythm is really good. I don't think there were any parts that I felt like, oh my God, when is something is going to happen now? Like, okay, go on. No, at all the time it was like, oh, this is cool. Oh, this is action. This is something is happening. I like the dialogue too. In some parts, I could really see through the dialogue how Zach is the sort of a asshole, and the way he spoke with people, we could see that not only by the actions that, of course, shows like he's getting using drugs and this and that, but just the way that he interacts with people, I could kind of see the way that he speaks, how in this way I could also catch some things from him. And yeah, I think this is it, which I really like. I really like that I couldn't figure out what was happening, and even like the genre of the script, I was always like, oh, this is a little bit quirky, no, this is a little bit dramatic, it's going to be sad, no, it's going to be like horror, and until the end it's like, well, I don't know I don't know what it is, but it's really cool. I don't know what is your vision of which kind of tone it would go, in a when it's filmed or something. But yeah, although I think like it could be either of the three different tones, you could do three different ways the script, and it would work. You could have like a more nice, like quirky. You could have a very dark vibes, and it would work. And yeah, it was a fun ride, really good. And I also want to know if that is the ending, or there's something more, or going in the.
No, I mean, that is the ending. I love, like, I mean, that's the only thing that I know I won't rewrite, just because I like the moral ambiguity, and I love moral ambiguity, and that's kind of where this whole thing, where I was taking the whole thing, was like, all right, if you have a husband that's a pain in the ass and like is failing as a father and a husband and stuff, like, would you be upset if something like took over his body and was better? And you know, you it's easy to say, yeah, but like when you're actually married to someone for like 15 years or something like that, is it, you know? And maybe the answer is yes, but it's hard, or yes, but like I still miss the guy or something. And so like that ending where it's like everything is happily ever after, but it's not normal, is like that's the tone I definitely wanted to, like, that's that this is weird, but this is happening. And the tone thing, I tried to, a note that I got from someone else and I tried to like rewrite it, was like he had said that it seemed like very almost like slapsticky at times, and this was a previous version, but so I tried to take that out. So like the tone, I'm not trying, and tell me if there's moments that it does strike you as that, because I'm not trying to get like the slapsticky thing, but it is like, but I am trying to stick with like this is really happening. Like the guy that, like the doctor that's like, oh Lord, what the hell is that? Like, it's funny, but like that's what would really, like, that's kind of based on an experience that I had. I don't have an eyeball in the back. You know, it's just like the tone should be like give you goosebumps, not like, but can make you laugh, but the purpose is to give you the goosebumps, you know.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, you could go that route, but the tone is not that at all here. To me, I see like a dark comedy, and it's not like, kind of like Airplane or anything like that. That kind of comedy. It's not that. I mean, you could go The Man with Two Brains, star Steve Martin. You could go that direction if you wanted to, but that's not the tone here for me. To me, it's like a dark comedy. It has, it has set us where, like, humorous, people can laugh at it, but people aren't being goofy at all. You know what I mean? It's just a situation
Yeah.
that will make people laugh. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's because, like I said at first, because of the title, I almost thought it was going to be a horror, but after I started reading, I said, okay, this is more like a dark comedy, well, with humor in it. You know what I mean? So that's my take on it, on the tone of it. That's pretty much what you were going for, right?
Well, I was kind of doing, I like a movie, there's a movie called Audition. It's like a Japanese movie, and like I like playing, like I like baiting and switching someone into a different genre than they think they're getting into. And that's a little of what I was trying to do, was like, oh, you think it's like a body horror movie, but then it poses these bigger questions, and it's really about a guy trying to be like a good husband and father. At the core of it, that's really what it's about. It's just, it's funny, like I sent this to someone who I know, he's like a musician, and wanted him to read it because I was like, maybe I'll do like a music video, incorporate the story in this and stuff. And he read the script. He goes, "Is this about me?" And I was like, "No, it isn't, man." He's like, "You sure?" I'm like, it's basically every guy that doesn't want to grow up, and no guy really wants to grow up. There's a threshold in your life, and this is sort of like a metaphor in that sense. I just put a creepy spin on it. So like, but yeah, I mean, when you're talking about what the tone is, like the beginning, I wanted it to be like creepy, but real. And the fact is, if you have an eyeball on the back of your head, weird, like people are gonna react. And it, like when you're watching from as a third party, it's funny, but then I feel like the attempt is to bait you into like caring about the family and then wondering, like, if you were in the wife's position, what would you think? What would you do? Like, should you, I wanted to like pose heavier questions even though you thought you signed up for a cheesy horror movie.
When I read this, I'm sorry, I don't mean to take up too much time here, but recently, like, I had a conversation with somebody, right? And we were talking about, how people can change and do things differently. And the person was like, "That's not me." I said, "What are you talking about? That's not you. All you have to do is do something differently." It's like you act like you become a completely different person. And so this script reminded me of that conversation. It's like they act like this guy just because he's making he decides to, change his behavior and make different decisions. He's like kind of like a completely different person because because the other part of him has a different personality. But it's just in real life, people act like, "Oh, this is me," and I'm anyone. That's like, no, no. Just because you make different choices in life and you change your behavior doesn't mean you become a completely different person. That's just what came to mind when I was reading this.
Well, and I would say so. We don't in a script, a movie, your choices define you as a character. So if you're making the complete opposite choices from one scene to the next, then you're becoming the opposite character. But like, one of the things that sort of I thought about while I was writing this is, my wife was telling me about a philosophy class that she was in, and they were talking about, like, if you have a boat and you slowly you change every part of the boat every year, is it the same boat? And I don't have really, I mean, I would say no. Like, I would say I am a completely different person than I was 20 years ago, or probably even 10 years ago, because I would make different choices and decisions. But it's like, but I don't have a definitive answer for you. But that's kind of the cool part, is like, it makes you go like, oh, well, like, is that, it made me think when she brought that up. So I kind of, that was floating through my head when I was doing this. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly the sort of the philosophy that she was spouting. Yeah, I definitely got that from the script. So yeah, just what we do in order to change into more acceptable sort of to our partners, or more acceptable to our friends, or more acceptable, what have you, in order to sort of that's definitely great. That's a great thing. That's a great theme to sort of explore with a story. And I think, yeah, that's definitely what it came off as here, because
I mean, I guess I would say that it's not necessarily like in reaction to what you think, like in reaction to other people. Like, I completely like different foods and I have different tastes altogether than I was, when I was younger. So I feel like it's like how you react to people and like what your agenda is in life, but also like, I think you do become a different person as you get older.
Great. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure, Thais, did you get everything that you wanted to say about the
Yes,
first
yes,
step?
yes. I
Awesome.
just want to clarify. I don't think it is like comedic or goofy in a way. It's more in a. I would think something like Charlie Kaufman, that it has this darkness, but he does it in a very light way, in a very that sometimes it's very light. It's very so something like that, or it could be really dark as well, really really heavy. So in this
I'll take
spectrum are things.
I'll take a Charlie Coffin comparison any day.
Very nice. Mhm.
Yeah, I think the realism of this script. You talked about tone change, and I could immediately sense where I was like, oh, okay, this is different. Buckle in. You're not going to want to leave. Was with the doctors explaining that no, you probably shouldn't cut this out because you could die, and also there are other things in your body. You're not exactly normal. I think that right then I didn't I didn't like your main character before that. I didn't really have a way to like identify with him before that moment, but you did a very good job of layering the stakes for Zach personally with like external means but also internal means. And yes, that was a pun. um it was really nice to meet Zach at the very beginning of his decision making, because he wasn't making decisions before that. Like Tina said at the beginning of the script, like you don't get an award for pouring your kid a glass of milk once a month. Like that was, that was great. And like Thais was saying, there's a yes, you laugh a little bit, but that conversation was serious because Pam walked in and she was like, "Listen, I got to tell you some things, and we can't talk with the kid here." There's always an element of realism that's chosen over all of the other avenues, which makes the story believable, but also sustainably serious. So no matter what happens, whether he runs into Annie again, or Doug, or Dominic, or gets like arrested in a park for like trying to get his money back from a kid, it's a whole thing. We're on the journey with him, because you always choose realism outside of the genre. And I think that was an expert choice, because whatever happens to Zach and whatever choices he learns to make that are better than his shitty ones, we believe him. We believe that he's trying, for once, because we meet him at the very beginning of that journey. He just so happens to be older. Like, this isn't your normal coming of age story, but I feel kind of like that is what Zach is doing. Like, he's kind of been coasting this whole entire time, and he's sort of learning to be a man.
Well, and, so two things that like, and maybe this is helpful because like the challenge at the beginning was to write in, like I knew he was going to get good at the end, like be a good person at the end. So I knew he had to start out like an asshole. But how do you write like a likable asshole that people want to continue to see what happens with, like care about? So like that was the challenge there. But okay.
I think using his daughter was a wonderful, wonderful thing that you did. Sadie doesn't say much, but what she does packs a punch, because it's always like her dad is her priority. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, mom, all right, you want me to go put my pajamas on? I'll get back to you, maybe. But like, what time is dad coming home though? And like, his eye's pretty cool, and like, he's writing me a song. Aren't you excited? So even when he was struggling with what this new reality, what this new humanity was, Sadie was like his conscience, and she was the reason he was going to give anything a try. Even when I lost hope for him and Pamela to reconcile, I was like, you know what? Like, if anybody's going to change him, if he's going to want to do anything for anyone, it's Sadie, who didn't change throughout the movie, which was great. You kind of need a character with a moral center if you're using a character who doesn't already have one, which Zach started out as an asshole, but didn't have one. He's like, morals for what? I just need my guitar. Which you can appreciate that, but you've done a really good job of using other characters to symbolize other things, which correlate with your theme of change versus acceptance. And so I don't think you have to try harder. You don't have to be overt with it. There's a lot of things in this script that force you to kind of pay attention, which is what you want. You want an active audience so that they can't ask questions like, oh, is this cheesy? Would I do that? You want them to ask that question, but you want them to ask it in a very serious way that keeps them connected to all the people in the story. You want to be like, ooh, okay, so he wants a second opinion. I would actually get a second opinion too. Okay. So you want that connection with the audience, and you have to test your characters to do it, but you created characters that test him in a way that doesn't change the tone or the pacing of the story. So that's something you actually don't need to be worried about because you accomplished it.
One thing I noticed too, when the character's very good at something, and it helps the character be likable. Like I know I mentioned before, Tony Stark from the I don't know if you ever watched the Marvel films, the Avenger films, but Iron Man basically. Now he's not really, if you think like he's not really, he's a jerk. But people don't really know it's because he's just so good at what he does. And I can even use Michael Jordan. I think Michael Jordan is an asshole. But people don't notice that because he's just so good at what he does. So this character is like, I just can imagine him being very talented with music. And just you know, uh, think about your favorite artist. You don't know them personally, but they're just so likable because they're good at what they do. So that's one of the things I noticed that help kind of make a character likable.
But I would say, like at the beginning, I mean, well, Zach kind of loses his talent, but he hasn't lost the attitude. Like he was the man at one point,
Right.
That's
You
kind
could
of
kind of feel that. You could kind of feel that. Because even though, like, I when he was losing that, it's like I felt empathy because, like, in my head, it's like I could kind of vision him being a very talented artist and then losing that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's especially difficult. Yeah, especially because it's the first act. You want your audience to sort of you want your audience to really know that they're to at least follow along. And yeah, when you present a character like Zach, he's hanging on, he's trying to cling on to that dream, but in doing so, he's just become a deadbeat dad. He's not great. He's not a great husband. He's not a good provider. So yeah, it's difficult. But then see, my first reaction was that Pamela is going to be like the main character, and it's going to be about her trying to trying to cast off Zach. And at least the first, that was when I first read the first act. But then it goes completely different. And then so I figured that this is much more of character evolution rather than sort of your than what I originally thought. But I agree with everyone else. I think I think it's done very well because it's still compelling, even though even though Zach is not a great character, is not a great character to watch or empathize with in the beginning, but you're always compelled and especially you're compelled when this strange thing happens to him. So yeah, I think I didn't especially have a problem with it.
Yeah. Just to follow up on what Kenyatta said about Tony Stark and having likable characters. We also find out very, very quickly what that main character's fears are. And so I feel like if you know what they're good at, and then you understand what they're scared of, you might understand quickly why they're good at that thing. They might be overcompensating, or I don't know, just never had a chance to grieve like Tony or something, have daddy issues or whatever. I feel like you could go that route because when we first meet Zach, stuff is just happening to him. I mean, he's a gambler, he's got debt, okay. He's like never at home for dinner. I'm even imagining that like the guitar he plays with is like not in tune, but it's like the first time it's not in tune. So like Sadie can hear it, but he can't. Things are just happening to him. So we kind of see him reacting as anybody would, but we don't really understand the fears. Like, is he scared of losing his family? Is he scared of losing his hearing? Did that happen to whoever else was in wrought iron? Like, there's so many avenues that you could take to give us a little bit more of who Zach is. Give us what he's scared of. That'll make me like him more, like immediately. I'll be like, you know what? You're kind of a jerk, but like I'm scared of spiders too, bro. I get it. So that'll help with likability.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Thank you.
Okay. Are we good with, do we want to move on to the critiques, need for improvements? All right. So, yep. So now is the don't get too stressed, Ryan. So we're just
No, lay it on me.
moving on to the no, we do not lay on stuff here. We just we provide good, supportive, constructive criticism, and that's the name of that is what we try to provide. But so yeah, does anyone want to start us off with round two? Needs for improvement, suggestions for Ryan for the script?
Well, one thing I could say that when I saw cut to, you don't need those. You can take those out, and also it's like some of the camera angles. The camera, because it's a funny thing is I just right after I read your script, I came across another script, Black Christmas. It's an old. So I was like, when I saw the script, I said, let me check this out and see. And that thing had a ton of camera angles, and it was so difficult to read. Now you didn't have that many camera angles as that script, but I noticed too, like if you eliminate those, it kind of like it slows down to read. So what you do in the description, you kind of like suggestions of what the camera, you know what I'm saying? Is you've done that a couple of times, like girls' feet going up the stairs. So that would be a close up. A camera is close up on the feet, the child's feet going up the stairs. So stuff like that. Um, Also, too, I would suggest that your descriptions are. I think you should break it up a little bit because it's like just one big paragraph, and you kind of like since I've seen you use camera angles, and because you're kind of visualizing this stuff, so when you break up the action into like separate, each paragraph will pretty much is a camera angle. You know what I'm saying? Instead of having just like, because like I saw tried to not have it more than 3 or 4 sentences. Um, like if you had like 9 sentences, you could, and there was like a lot of action going on. So I was like, wow, you could break that up here. Have that could be its own paragraph. This could be its own paragraph. So that one paragraph, 9 sentences could be at least 4 paragraphs. I'm not sure if you know what I mean by that.
Yeah, I think, yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
All right, so and never forget that when you first come across a character that speaks, just have all caps and give a little bit brief description. You know, um, I probably have more, but that's all I have for now.
I just want to, I want to say that that is as well, at least your main characters, like you have 4 or 5 main characters, at least your main characters, describe them a little bit more. You're great at describing them in personality. Dialogue, first sentences, I know exactly who this person is. But I found myself imagining what this person looked like. Like I wanted to know which parent does Sadie look like. I was thinking that maybe she looks more like her dad. I don't know. That's what I was feeling. I think having a little bit more of their appearance would also, at least for me, the reader, would make sense for body language. Like every time Pam is like pulling away, and you know, when she hugs him, but she's looking at the eye. I'm just like, well, what kind of like what? Like, is she fat? I don't know. Is she skinny? I don't know. Is she? So leaving a little bit less of wonderment about what the characters look like, then you can play with all of the other side characters, like people in the crowd and like pedestrians and audience members and stuff like that, because we need to be attached to those core groups of characters that you're going to use over and over to tell us the entire story. And so I don't doubt that you will be very creative about how you tell us the descriptions. But yeah, spend a little bit more time on that. And I think you'll get your answers about, you know, likability and stuff there, because you're going to have to like lean in a little bit and be like, how do I want to describe the first time someone sees this character on the page? So that'll clear some stuff up for you. But the only things that I have seen were just very small grammatical things. So there's one thing on page 66 where they're in a car and everybody is doing something, but Sadie is bored. And I don't know if this is like autocorrect, but change BOARD to BORED. And then on page 84, there is a sentence where he encounters like kids for like the first time. And they're like, you know, fascinated, but some of them are gasping. So you want to put a comma after gasp. That was literally the only two things I found in the script.
Grammar is not my strong suit, so
that's okay. That's what we're here for.
It.
That is what we're here for. So yeah, so that was it. But like everyone else has parroted, it's a very smooth read. And now it's just, you know, writing is rewriting. We all know this.
Yeah.
So if you just clean up your character descriptions, break apart your actions. I also heard too, I don't know if other people have heard this taught, but every line of action that happens either in a different space or to a different body part should be separated. I just read that in a blog and I was like, that's a very interesting way of explaining how to separate action. And then I tried.
Can you repeat that? Can you repeat that again?
Yes, every line of action that either affects a different location, like in the room, like let's say someone is sitting on a couch and then they walk over to the bookshelf and stay there and do a different set of things. Everything that happens either in a different location in the same place or to a different body part should be separated. I was like, you know what? It's weird the way that the sentence is written. Is it wrong? I don't think it is, at least not for my script. So I would try to do it like that too, because there's a lot of movement. Everything is your dialogue moves, your pacing is like this. You're just like, keep up. Okay, a lot of things are gonna happen. This is not what you think, which I like. But there lends this boxiness that Kenyatta was talking about, where you're trying to pack things in. You don't have to do that. You can make it visually pleasing too, by just breaking apart, like, hey, what happens to Zach's body? Is someone trying to beat him up again? Is he gonna get arrested again? Just every action that's happening just a little bit differently. You can go ahead and separate it, and that's the 4 to 5 paragraphs that Kenyatta was talking about, which might only be like 2 or 3 lines. Some action is just 1 line, like, you know. So I think you can, if you think about it that way, it'll get easier to go back and edit. So you don't have to like cut out stuff that maybe you're attached to, and maybe you feel like that's the sentence that carries the most emotional or visual impact for the story. So you don't have to go back and just, you know, just chop everything out. So hopefully
Sometimes it actually could be 1 word too.
Very true. Very true. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, you know, I was never sure what the proper thing to do was there, because I was like, I don't know if you just, break up every paragraph, then like it's going to be a much longer script, you know. But and I was like, is that the proper thing to do? Because is that going to make like a scene that's 2 minutes seem like it's 5 minutes in the script or something? But if you know, I haven't actually looked into it, but if that's the proper thing to do, then I'll totally do it.
I also think it depends. There's a lot about screenwriting that sort of varies from the type of script that you're writing to the type of character that you have. Like a lot more has to happen in the beginning of a story than at the end, where your audience has been with your characters. They already understand their mannerisms and the stakes, and you know, their mentality and why they make the decisions that they do. So it's up to you, the writer, to decide how to deliver the most emotional, most effective visual impact. And that could be one word, or it could be 3 sentences. I think you do a really good job of like the first 10 pages, like Jeff was saying, the first 10 pages of like setting a tone. Maybe you can use what you've already written, go back and study that and see how that flows, because you do a really great job there. You don't need to second guess what you're doing later on in the script. You already have a style about it, and you don't have to change that to follow the mechanics. There's just there might be ways to tell a better story with less words, so you don't have to change the story.
And it might, and I mean, I think if we distill that, what you guys are saying, it's like cull the wording, like make it less verbose maybe, but also like the paragraphs doesn't need to be a paragraph like this. It can be a couple of paragraphs like this with like, just to separate what's going on and all that stuff. And that's all. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I will strongly recommend reading just about any Quentin Tarantino screenplay. He's very good at doing exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. So Ryan, I can even give an example. I can show you it right in the script if I can get to the share screen. Okay, there we go. Okay, yeah. So right on page, this is 105 on this thing, but this is, so yeah, this entire, can you see it, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone, okay, so this is page 104, top of it. Yeah, so this is the whole thing we're just trying to avoid. Just a huge, long, big chunk of words, big, long paragraphs. So yeah, Zach is in front of the mirror, takes a reflection, but go, closes his eyes. So this is the first time he's really looked in the. So this is just the first time he's just really looking at, you know, the eye that's in the back of his head. So really, what you just want Zach in front of the mirror. And he holds, okay, he gets the hand mirror, he holds it up to the back of his head, and then he sees it, then he kind of talks with it for a little bit. So yeah, so that's really all we need out of this entire just whole big paragraph. It's just those 3 distinct actions: staying in front of the mirror, getting the hand mirror, and then placing it on the back, and then seeing it, and then this says, "There you are." So that's all we really want to get out of that. And that's just one little example. Yeah. So whenever you see just huge descriptions of this, yeah, just try to either find a way to break them up, or just try to make it less wordy. Just try, it just makes everything flow better. There's no real general rule of thumb, really. It really does depend, but yeah, just the least amount of words for the amount of action that you really need depicted in the story or on the screen.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. I mean, I agree when I'm looking at this.
Yeah, I mean, you could also break this up into lines, but I think really you don't need to you don't need to keep on saying he closes the eye, he opens his eye. It's just like, I think you just need, he's standing in front of the mirror, gets the hand mirror, reflects the back of his head, and then he tries to really examine it. I think that's all you really need out of that, at least from my point of view as the reader. That's all I really needed out of that paragraph. And that's just one example. I think there's a few others, but that's just one that came up, came to my head when Karis was talking about making sure something reads well with your scene descriptions. Yeah, but other than that, yeah, I mean, there's formatting things, a few that I just covered one example. The other thing I would say is that I think you could make it a little bit more streamlined by getting rid of the Dominic stuff. There's a couple reasons for that. One, I don't know, adding sort of this mob element, I know it's not really, mob element sort of thing with it, but he's owing money to this, big time crook and everything. So I just sort of get a mob movie feel from it. And I don't think that quite fits with this. I get that Zach is sort of a shady guy, or at least in his past, but I think I got all of that, right before Dominic comes in and starts doing his own things and making his own requests. So that, and the other reason is Dominic kind of disappears at the very end. You don't really get any resolution. Is he still going to go after Zach? Because for all he knows, Zach is still, Zach, from the person that owes him money, and then you don't really tie that up at the end. So I just figured you don't really need the Dominic storyline. I thought it was much more interesting. He's selling himself as a freak show. That's much more interesting than, this crook. This crook is coming to ask him for favors, and then, but does he do it or not? But I think it's much more interesting. Is he trying to just he's trying to use this to his own financial gain by selling him off as like a sideshow, as just something to be gawked at, and I think that's much more interesting, especially for the story you're going for, than the regular like owing money to this guy storyline.
Well, the reason I feel I need that is otherwise there's no like looming doom. Like there needs to be like a ticking clock for him to be like to do something drastic, and the someone else had given me a note that I think I might try to incorporate. Well, I think I will try to incorporate, which they were saying like you should take the Dominic stuff even further, because the Dominic guy wouldn't, if he saw like the opportunity to cash in on him, he would like take it. So he was saying like, oh, after that freak show kind of thing, the Dominic guy should step in and just like make him his little cash cow, and like really take it to a different like kind of level, which I think I agree with. But either way, like if he doesn't, I would compare it to like the end of like Star Wars. Like I don't know if you've ever seen that thing. They kind of like configured the end of Star Wars so that the Death Star was gonna blow up another planet, and that's why Luke had to blow up the Death Star before they blew up the other planet. It was originally written where Luke, they're just going in to blow up the Death Star. There's no like looming doom. There's no like the Death Star is not powering up to blow up another planet. And I think I agree with like needing that click ticking time clock of like doom. Like if something doesn't happen, you're like there's going to be grave consequences. Like something has to happen. And I think that's what pushes the I like personality to basically perform a lobotomy, is like he can't let Zach screw everything up until there's no coming back, Does that make sense?
Well, you know something. I just want to speak on this since you guys are talking about this. I was going to mention this, but I kind of agree with Jeff in the sense that I know Jeff wants to take it out, but just like you said, take it further. It's like I was looking, I was expecting, because I know what he's supposed to do. He was supposed to rob, that place, and then all of a sudden it went away. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, if you're not going to kind of like follow through, if you're gonna bring something up, you should, to me, to not follow through on it. It's like you setting all this up and then not go through it. It's kind of like, okay, because like I was envisioning how the guy is going to, Zach is going to follow through Robin's place. He's going to kind of utilize the eye to help him, while the eye personality, he wants to be responsible. Well, I could kind of see how that's kind of like make the different personalities are going to create this obstacle of whether the robbery is going to be successful or not. So then the robbery doesn't even take place at all. It's like, okay, if you're not going to follow through, maybe you shouldn't even add it. But if you're going to put it in there, you know what I'm saying? I was kind of disappointed. And just to throw it out there, we kind of talked earlier about we kind of alluded to I guess the page count, like you said, will it be longer if you do this, and so on and so forth. So basically that goes to page count. So like 126 pages, that's 2 hours and 6 minutes. So to me, that's kind of long for something like this. So an hour and a half would be good. But if you take out things with Dominic, it will make it shorter. But I kind of like, I don't know. It's like it makes sense. It's like part of his irresponsibility is gambling. I could see him getting, getting into a little bit of trouble with gambling. I don't personally, that's just my opinion. I just thought that would. I understand that's another piece to it. I mean, you have, he's dealing with this whole, he's going to the doctors and so on and so forth. But at the same time, his past life is kind of like, he has remnants of it that's, he has to deal with. At the same time that, he's dealing with this whole spooky eye, creepy eye thing, this extra heart and everything. And, now it's beginning to take over his body and all that. So I don't know. I mean, that's just my opinion. I mean, people could kind of chime in on that part of it.
Well, and if I can ask you guys too, like, I thought I kind of resolved the Dominic stuff with when the therapist was in the room after, but maybe I didn't. It didn't. Didn't resolve
I remember
satisfyingly or something.
Yeah, no, it's just like, oh, the police was worried about him, but yeah, it's not really clear if he got arrested, or because in the end, it's like he's not accused or anything. I think what Kenaya said, it's very interesting. There's also a possibility to make it even further, and once he gets into doing whatever the Dominique asked him to do, things get even more messed up in a way that he really needs to, like, he gets to a place that the eye really takes control. Like, really, this is so messed up. This is what the point that you reach right now. And I like the fact that the family is now there, because it's also, it seems like the Pamela and Sadie are the ones that are still holding him up a little bit. And the fact that they are not there, like if something really messed up happened and then he comes back home and they are not there to support him, then this is the break. This is like, okay, now I think it could be an interesting point on that.
Yeah, no, I'm just taking notes on what you're saying. I think
Yeah.
I dig a lot of it.
Yeah, she's right. You could use, I was just trying to figure out like what is important to Zach? What's important? Other than Sadie, I will hear a lot about his guitar. Like a lot about that guitar. Apparently it's worth a couple grand. You mentioned that at the very beginning of of the play, and like you have a lot, like Kenyatta said, there are a lot of seeds in this script, so you do have a lot to play with. You have a lot to sort of mix and match. But I would use, I would go back to knowing your character very intimately. What is this guy afraid of? And so that way you can test him, and then you can use the other characters to test him, because everyone's talking about Dominic escalating just his horrible nature. Ugh, that guy. But I was actually hoping that like Doug would kind of go dark. He's already into like drug dealing anyway. It's human trafficking. I don't know what Doug has going on. I wouldn't drink anything at his bar, nothing. So I was hoping that you could even go that route, because that is someone that Zach already knows. So if you're using like betrayal or like a plot twist, that's something that no one would ever see coming, you could use a character like Doug, who's like already in these spaces. I mean, Dominic came into his bar and was like, that guy, the owner, take everything he owns, but like not the money though. We just need the drugs. Doug's already got it. So there's another character that it stands to lose something as well. And what you really want for stakes is conflict. I think that's what you're really after. You want external conflict, but you also want internal conflict. So I would just go back to what scares Zach, what doesn't he want to lose, and then take all of those things from him. Just take them all. Just figure out a way to take it all in the quickest way possible. So
hold on, let me what I get what you're saying about the what does he want and what is he afraid of, and messing with him that way. I was unclear on what you're saying about the Doug character.
Doug, okay. So there's a scene where Dominic is like, here's a reminder, you got 2 days to give me my money. And Zach's like, okay, I will give it to you, but this time for real, because I have something in the works. And Dominic is in Doug's bar. And this is the first time that we find out Doug is kind of shady. He's not your regular bar owner. He supplies all of the artists that come here on Tuesdays and Saturdays and whatever day with a little something extra to keep them energized on stage. And not only is it not illegal, but the way he gets it here is not illegal. It's not legal either. This is the first time where we find out a little bit more about the moral gray area of all of the male characters that you're using. And I was like, okay, Doug seems to be a morally gray character. He's one that we like. We didn't meet him being an asshole. We just met him being a business owner. He just wanted to be able to make his money back. And he wanted this guy to like not suck because you're costing him money. Everybody understands that. And so if Doug he already has a history just like Zach does. He already has a history of doing some very questionable things for very personal means, because he does this as like party favors to keep people coming back in and putting money in his pocket by booking with him week after week after week after week. We understand that motivation, which is money. Zach's motivation is also at that point in time money. So they kind of they could either use each other more, because when Zach had he brought in the flyer and was like, I've got an idea. There was an action line in the script where you basically said, Doug was like, I've got a better idea. And he saw dollar signs. You were like, he had this idea. He's like, I got something better. What about this photo booth? Okay. He was thinking money, 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 money. Which is the same motivation that Dominic had. what did Dominic want? He wants his money back. Like everyone is doing shady shit for money. So I was like, you can totally use the Doug character, you can use the Dominic character, and your stakes don't have to be I don't think you have to be so literal about the time stakes. You can. It's not like a bomb. It's not like, you know, Breaking Bad where he's got terminal cancer and he's gonna die. That's a very fixed point. There could be much more emotional stakes and emotional consequences and mental consequences, but also physical consequences, because you can't get out of this unscathed. But you have two characters that you can use. You've already seeded their personalities and the fact that they have the same motivation. So both Doug and Dominic have the same money motivations. So you could use that as well. Just letting you know there's another avenue.
Well, to me, money, it's a motivation, but to me, for what? For motivation for something else. Basically, it's about keeping his family.
Right.
And to me, like this whole situation, I don't think I can't remember, but does she know about the gambling? Does she, you know what I'm saying? 'Cause imagine how much of, and to me, there is, when we talk about time clock, in a way, it is a time clock, because I feel like, I'm trying to think of the wife. What's the wife's name again?
Pamela.
Pamela, right? Pretty much, her patience, and she's going to leave. To me, that's a time clock. It's like she's giving him time.
Right.
And the longer he takes to get his shit together, right? They're leaving, and once they leave, then it's like, do you lose them forever? It'll be harder to get them back once they leave. So you try to keep them there, or you're trying to stay there and present in their lives. You know what I mean? And it's like you try and get your shit together, or so you can keep your. I think, to me, the whole robbery. Imagine if Pamela finds out that he not only has been gambling, but he's put the family in danger. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, to me, that ups the stakes and ups the ante. And just to take it away and wrap it up in a nice bow like you did, it kind of like it takes the air out of the tire, so to speak. But I do want to mention real quick about the beginning. See, that's another thing too. Like in horror films, you'll start out with this scene where something happens and it kind of freaks you out. Somebody gets chased down the street, some kind of masked person, and they might kill somebody. So it's kind of like, I guess in TV they call it a teaser, but don't really call it that in movies. And it's kind of like, it felt like you started with a teaser because like you kind of repeat it later on. But the only thing is you repeat it verbatim, like, well, it's like you cut and paste the same exact scene further down in the script between Zach and I'm trying to remember her name, the girl that he met
Annie.
at the Annie. There you go. To me, either you could get rid of that one in the beginning, or don't make it exactly the same. So like when it's repeat, it's like, don't reveal too much in the beginning, kind of like leave some mystery, and then when it repeats itself, don't do it verbatim. It's like you could kind of like, I don't know if you've seen the movie like Jackie Brown, how like they played the same scene, but it's like it's from different vantage point, and it kind of like it's not exactly the same. It's kind of different. You know what I mean? Like if you've seen Rashomon, yeah, but because like in the script, it's like you cut and paste exactly. I was like, I think either you should get rid of it in the beginning, or kind of like make it different and don't reveal too much at the. Go ahead.
So when I had the first scene I had written is like the first scene that you read, and I, as I was writing, I put that scene further up in the script with the scene with Annie, and like filled it in with all the places. and you know, there was it, to be honest, like figuring out writing Zach and who he was and what his like life was and his day. It took way too long to get what is interesting about the film or the script or whatever. So and to be I started reading. I read like some other scripts just like to brainstorm, and the Breaking Bad pilot was what made me want to do that, because that's basically exactly what they did. The way that starts out, like I'm like, why am I? Because I didn't want to do that because I was like, ah, that's kind of like cliche. But then I'm like, if it's good enough for Breaking Bad, it's good enough for me, man. So I put it
Well,
up
to me,
front. And the reason I didn't think it was bad to cut paste was because really what I mean, who knows how it would get edited out, but I mean, I'm sure I'd abbreviate it, but you know, but in the second time around. But what he does after that is what I'm most interested in. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah,
well,
I will.
yeah, yeah,
That's all.
yeah. TV, I think is a little bit different. Like I know what you're talking. I know exactly what because I just rewatched the whole season of Breaking Bad recently, and I know exactly what you're talking about. I can't remember. I know that first scene. They didn't show it again. Did they show it again in the same episode, or did they like
Yeah.
with the further down the line? Because you know, but I just think that okay, if you let's say okay, you start off with the scene, you know, with them making out, whatever, and then and I guess he says, you know, I have something to show you, and he turns around and you see a look in the shock on her face, and then you cut to whatever the next scene. Then later on, down the line, it's like we don't know what she sees. You know what I mean? She does something shocking, and then later on, then you play out the whole scene. You get what I'm saying? I just think it will probably. That's just my opinion. You know, I'm thinking it might be more impactful than to kind of see the same exact scene
Dude,
repeated.
I hear you. Because that'll be, you know, I was trying to write it into the script, and maybe I succeeded a little, maybe I didn't at all, but like really the idea, if what I tried to write into the script is what I would do if I was shooting this tomorrow, which is show it quicker and not as clear early on, and then as you go on, you get a better look at it, and then by the time you're getting a better look at it, you're seeing the personality in it, which is, you know, it's funny. I had sort of considered that idea, and I was like, I think E.T. did that, and like I watched E.T. again with my nieces the other a week ago, and it's exactly what they did. You know, it's like all silhouetted and shadowy at the beginning and quick little cuts, and then as you get closer and like as you get further along, it's personality and the close up and expressions and all that stuff. So that's kind of how I would do it. But like I am trying to make that come through in the script, so maybe I gotta like hone that a little.
I actually think it's a great teaser because again, you have to deal with the fact that Zach is just not a great protagonist thus far in your script, and you know something this weird happening to him. Well, even though he's again he's not that great of a guy, you have to wonder. You're left wondering, oh, what's going to happen, right? So I think it's just a formatting thing that all you have to do with. I wouldn't copy paste like the entire thing from the beginning. I'd just say scene plays out as prologue or something like that, and then you can start right when after when you want, right after the initial like shock. So you don't have to read. So you don't have to read or rereading the prologue or the sort of the what is it? It's not a prologue. Sort of your tease in the beginning again.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. Like as a sort of an editor, I'm like, I'll just put the same thing, and then I would probably abbreviate it after. But really, I should imply in the script anyway that it's I totally agree.
Because yeah, in the editing, I'm sure they're going to show like they'll allude to the first scene somehow, but they won't play out the exact same way, most likely. I mean, yeah, I would just either say scene plays as beginning, or just something that so you don't have the reader just rereading the same stuff as they've already covered.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that does make sense.
I've even seen in a few scripts, this is television, so take this with a grain of salt. I've seen the first time they use a scene in a teaser at the very beginning of the script using very, when you're talking about silhouettes, using very descriptive words like hazy, blurry, out of focus. And then the next time you see it, they're using sentences like in clear view, sharper, just to tell a little bit about what you want the shot to look like without stepping on like the director's toes, which is great. If you wanna shoot this, then that's okay. But if you want somebody else to sort of follow the flow, like Kenyatta's note before, I would just be very strategic about choosing very small words that won't mess with the things you want to say differently about the characters and what they're doing differently this time, because that's what we really want to focus on. So just add a few keywords here and there, and I think that will be less stress than you trying to like copy and paste it and be like backspace, I don't know what to do now. Just add one or two very descriptive words.
All right.
And just to go back on the what to cut or not to cut, or what adds attention, I agree. I think Kenyatta said that. I think it's just the drama of whether or not Sadie and Pamela are going to leave him is enough. You don't need the the big you don't need Dominic here, coming in and enforcing his will. So I think just something that initiates Pamela telling him that I'm going to leave in the morning, or I'm going to leave next day with Sadie, and you're never going to see us again. And then that's what sort of that's the prompt. That's the main event that causes Zach Wellkempt to sort of take over to take things into his own hands. But if you do want to keep the Dom, I think you need much. I'm just reading how you ended sort of that sort of storyline with just the therapist saying, "Oh well, the police investigated him, but no charges were brought." You can, again, I think that just leaves it so hanging, because now you have Zach, who's a better person, but now he has all the baggage of his previous self now hanging over his head. And that could be interesting, as a follow-up, but if you just leave it like that at the end, I think that's kind of just a missed opportunity. Now you can explore that, where this Zach personality has to deal with the past, has to deal with like everything that that went down, before he was able to take over.
Yeah, because I think I need to keep there's a couple things like Karis, what you're saying about like Doug and Dominic, like maybe they're too similar anyway. Maybe it should be one character. Like maybe I'm blowing that and overcomplicating it. And but I also think like Pamela has left this guy a bunch of times, and he's probably gotten her back. So I don't think that is like a big consequence. That just means I'll sweet talk her again, or like do something, be nice for a while or something like that. So I think I do need to do the Dominic thing, but just that has to be wired right. Like I think I just gotta like make it so that the thing in the hospital, I was actually thinking like that scene in A Clockwork Orange at the end where they're like the guy basically tries to kill him and Alex jumps out the window and they're like, we dealt with him. Don't worry about it. But I get what you're saying, because he's not that guy in Clockwork Orange isn't as big of the story. Like, I think I need to wrap up. If Dominic's going to be, or the Dominic Doug combo is going to be that big of a force in the story, I think I got to wrap it up a little tighter. And I think actually, like, doing what I was saying before, like going even crazier with it will actually make it easier to wrap up in a weird way. So does that all make sense? I mean, that, not to dismiss your thing about leaving Pamela, but I just feel like she's done that, like that. We've been there and done that, even though we're not showing it,
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point you brought, Brian, because that's the contrast between I forgot his name, the main character, and DI. Because DI wants to keep the family. DI cares about the family, and he doesn't. So the family leaving, it's not really the motivation. But then I kept thinking, what is his motivation? And we talking about how things get worse and all this craziness. It just made me remind of Uncut Gems. I don't know if you have watched it.
Yeah.
That the things go spiraling, and he's also a guy that doesn't want to grow up. He's also a man child, doesn't want to grow up, but he has a clear motivation of like, I want to win. I need to win. That's the thing. And with the character, I feel like Zach. What does he want? Why does he keep having this behavior? What keeps him as a child? What is keeping him there?
Well, I mean, he doesn't want to grow. He doesn't want to grow up. He's hanging on to like his dreams when he was younger.
Yeah.
But what I would say too is it's what's the eye's motivation at the end? Like the eye is the one that like does the thing with the ice pick, really. So just to distinguish there for you, like it's not Zach being afraid of losing his family. It's the eye thinking that Zach is screwing it up. And like I said, if the wife just leaves, at some point the eye can do the spike thing or just take over once in a while or whatever. But it needs to be and apologize to the wife and get her back. But it needs to be like something even bigger, a bigger threat than the wife leaving, because what's the bigger threat where you can't get the wife back, And I think that's when like he's actually putting them in physical danger with someone else that's shady. And there was one other thought that I had there. What is it? I forget.
Maybe why does he doesn't want to grow up? Why Zach doesn't want to grow? What is the pleasure that keeps him in this place? It's maybe, I don't know, winning, maybe. Yeah, what it keeps him these pleasures of maybe success. Maybe he had a lot of success before with his band, and he still thinks he's going to get that again, or what is keeping, because it seems like he's not getting any pleasure of it anymore. He's in a place that he's not having pleasure.
I think, and maybe I need to address like what you're saying more in the script, but like I think it's like you fly first class, and then when you're in coach again, you're like, I got to figure out how to get the hell up there again, and it's like once you got a little taste of that success, and then probably just like screwed it up because it was too much or whatever. He wants to get back to it, but like he's not the right age anymore. He's not like he doesn't have the talent that he did. It's just he's not in the right place in the right time again, you know. But I think what you're saying does make sense. Like he should get some sort of like positive what do you call that when you give like when you give a dog a treat? Positive reinforcement.
Reinforcement.
For his
Positive enforcement, yes.
his bad behavior.
Mhm.
And well, oh, you know what that other thing I was trying to remember was I remember watching like a David Mamet thing, and he was saying like, why now? Why here and why now? And that's the thing that keeps bugging me about the ending and like trying to make that all time out right with the spike in the head, because it's like, why here and why now? You know, if he can do it next week or next month or whatever,
Right.
it's but if there's like someone's got to come over, they're gonna mess you up. The kids are coming back in like an hour. The mom and the kid are coming back in an hour. It's like we gotta like figure out how to do like this has to go down now, you know. So that was the only other thing that I was thinking was the why now and why here and now.
Maybe being kicked out, if the band is the biggest thing, maybe being kicked out of the band was a big stuff for him. Could be.
Yeah, I would have to second that. There are a lot of opportunities in the script where he doesn't really want to talk about Iron Rod. Like everyone else was a fan, and Zach's kind of just like, we're broken up. It's me now. Okay, focus on me. So I feel like what you've just told us about Zach, we haven't seen that, but it's a very easy fix. Just get him to talk about it. Like, I don't know, maybe he talks in his sleep or something. I don't know. He seems like that kind of guy. Just get him to talk about what he misses so we find out what he's afraid of. And then you can answer why now, what now kind of thing. Because you really want to stress him out. You want to stretch him, you want to stress him out just to see what Zach is going to do and then what BI is going to do. And so that's a really, really easy fix. Like, hear him talk about it, because then the audience will see, oh, that's the thing that gives him pleasure. So when he starts to lose his connection to music, to lose the ability to play, and then to talk about it when he's like losing his speech because the eye is like caking over, then we will start to understand, number one, the emotional stakes, but number two, the effect that those stakes are going to have on his decision making later. Because he's going to have to choose, either you choose your personal selfish ambitions or you choose your family. Finally.
Yeah. No, I think you just hit on like kind of a missed opportunity on my part. Like, because everyone else does ask him about it, and he kind of like passes it off like, I'm not that guy anymore. It's a bummer, you know, but really, you're like, as an audience member, like I would be curious, like, what was that? What was his deal? What was it? And he could get all nostalgic with someone and say like, oh, I'll never forget the night we did this and blah, blah, blah. And we could sort of might even like understand what he's after. That he's like chasing the dragon kind of thing, you know?
I just assumed that, I don't know exactly what it was, of course, because it wasn't mentioned. I just thought that, usually, okay, Rock Iron, it just seems like it was a very good band. They was achieving some kind of, I mean, everybody loved them and everything. So I just assumed that it was some kind of bad choices. Because if you think in real life where you have these bands, it could be Temptations or whatever. They have that lead singer, usually it's drugs. With him, it could be maybe gambling, something he did, some kind of bad choices he was making, brought that down, and it caused the breaking up of the group, and and I think it just brought him down, because like people who are that talented and they're very sensitive, artists are very sensitive, and and sometimes some people get very obsessed with what they're good at, and to kind of imagine somebody who's very talented, and whether it could be sports or music or whatever, It's like, man, if this person didn't, you know, fuck up their life, imagine what it could have been. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah,
you know, yeah, go ahead.
yeah. The thing that kept going through my head when I was doing this was like, because I kind of went back and forth to what he does, you know. And you ever see a documentary called Anvil? Anyone? No. It's
No,
about like this heavy metal band back in the day, and like they were like playing with like they were up there with like Metallica and Megadeth and like all these big bands, and they were like just on the they were like the first one to, they were like the granddaddy of like these heavy metal bands and stuff. And the documentary starts out with the guy working in like a cafeteria at 5 in the morning in Milwaukee or something, and he didn't even like really screw it up by like spitting in the executive's face or something like that, something fun like that. It's just they were the first one, and they just didn't get that. It just didn't happen for them. It just wasn't like their moment. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's what's most frustrating. Like I was thinking about that. Like the guy must be so frustrated because he's looking over at Metallica and going like, I did the same thing. Like I was before them, and somehow they are like super successful, and I'm working in a cafeteria at 5 in the morning in the snow. Uh, so like that was the sort of framing the band how I thought, which was like I feel like it's harder to when you know you screwed up when you like if you got in a car crash and your voice didn't work or something like that, I feel like it's easier to blame it on something. But when there's no reason for you to have failed, then you say you think that you can still go, like you think you still have it, like if I did it. So that was the thought, was like he never lost it, he never lost that idea because he didn't have a reason to, like he never really did any, it just wasn't his moment, you know. But that maybe that's not good for a character or something, I'm not even sure. I'm curious what you guys think of it, but that was kind of where I was coming from. There was like
Um,
it's hard to say like, oh, I can't do it if you did it and there's no reason why it stopped, you know.
I mean, he loves his family too. So it's like he wants, you know, kind of like that glory, and he wants to, you know, I mean, he felt like, I'm just thinking like, are you one of ours? You feel like you were born to do this, and you get high when you do it. It's like you get obsessed when you do it, but you love your family too. It's kind of like you want both. You want, you know, because I mean, a lot of successful like artists and um, whether you know, think about a very famous musician, they're very successful, and that, like Jay-Z and Beyonce, they're married, so he's doing his art, or he's doing his music, and he's married. You know, it's kind of like here, it's feeling like, oh wow, I have to give this up in order to have my family. How do I do both? It's kind of like that, you know, that kind of like a juggling act. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, how many times have you seen people like give it up, give it up, give it up, you know? But he has a hard time reconciling the two, and you know, is he you know, is he has they have some decisions to make. I guess you could say.
But I think if you had the Zach at the beginning of the movie make a decision between his career and his family, he would choose his career. And if you had the Zach at the end, it would be
It'd
the
be family.
opposite.
Right. Right. Yeah, the feeling I got was that whether, you know, whether he acknowledges it or not, he feels that his family is the reason why he never became like a huge success, and that's why he's, you know, he's doing the bare minimum in parenting. He's doing the bare minimum of being a good partner, a good lover. But it's like, at least that's what it came off to me, is that he's sort of like, whether or not he realizes that or not, he secretly believes that if, you know, Sadie had not come along, he would have been, you know, huge rocker, huge big success, you know, and everything. And that's why he's really like kind of mopey and everything. And that's why at the end it's a great switch that, okay, now I'm just going to commit to this. I'm not going to commit to, it took a completely different personality taking over him, and I don't know, suppressing or killing off old Zach, but at least it is a character turn. It is it's at least a direction in life. So I don't know. That's just sort of my take. Yeah, and I probably something that's acknowledges what exactly drives Zach right at this moment, right at the beginning of the story. Yeah, that definitely, I think that would help out tenfold, just giving us some idea of how this guy works. I think that would definitely help out.
Right. There's a
Yeah,
few.
I also guys want to say something really like some smaller stuff, like on page 6 at the police station, it says Pamela is walking. We try. Can you try your best to stay away from that? Like instead of say you should say better like Pamela walks, or I mean it's like throughout. If you can kind of clean that up throughout the script, Zach is
Yeah.
trying. You know what I mean? Zach
Yeah.
tries to. You know, so you know, it's like throughout the script, if you could kind of clean that up, word it a different way, have some, like a
Yeah.
present tense. Yeah.
Little like first grade reading book, like Spot takes Spot and Jane go for a walk. I get that's good though.
Had an idea, since now we know he's ready to give it all up for music, and that's really what will keep him coming back. Like I said, you have amazing plants and amazing seeds all throughout this script. I think you can use two things that maybe you didn't notice before. You can either use, I found myself wanting to learn about the Sunshine Song. I was like, did he actually write that? Or like, was it an Iron Rot single? What is his hang up with not wanting to sing this song all the time? Like, said he loves it, but he doesn't. And I kept thinking why. It would play into, you could use that to talk a little bit more about his past, to let us know a little bit more about what kind of success he had professionally, and juxtapose that with like where he's failing personally. You could do that, or you could give him like a musical nemesis. You talked about how Anvil paved the way for more successful bands. Not that they didn't deserve success themselves. You could do that for Zach with the Brandy Shames. You could do that because Doug gave them like the spot that Zach thought he should have on Saturday nights. He had to come back as like this guy, this monstrosity, to sort of like have a fighting chance at that same quote unquote glory. Only this time it doesn't look like what he's used to. He doesn't get to stand on stage and play a guitar. He is getting poked in the eye by like strangers' kids, and he has to face away from the camera, and away from everything. So you could use those two things to really tap into who he is and what he's afraid of losing, because that's what's going to keep him making choices, because he could just like go drink himself into a corner, but the music is what really drives him. He doesn't figure out later that that's not the only thing that can drive you, but that's what's gonna do most of the pushing is the music for Zach. So you have ways to get in and out of that with either dialogue or use stuff you have already put into the script, but it's there, the bones are there.
Yeah, there's also something that can be done, like I don't know if you've seen BoJack Horseman. He's stuck in the TV show that he did in the 90s. So he's always watching the TV show all the time and talking about it all the time. And whoever he meets, it's about that. So it could be like his whole place about the band, and he's talking to everyone. He just talks about the band and about whatever is happening. He's watching the recording of the shows that they have again and again and again, and this kind of things can go wrong. Yeah,
I could see that annoying the shit out of Pamela too, so it would be a plus.
And another thing too that I know I suggested Quentin Tarantino screenplays because it's very helpful to read screenplays, but I would also suggest read Whiplash. Very good scene descriptions and action lines and stuff like that. And there's a movie called Sound of Metal as well. I always say that because they're both music related, and they do have, like I said, written very well. There's scene descriptions and action lines and stuff like that.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a musician, so it might actually be helpful
okay.
to read those scripts to like even how they describe that kind of stuff, like a show and stuff.
All right. We all set on you'll sit with occupant eye. I keep wanting to say occupant eye.
And if anyone has a better name, feel free to throw it my way, because I'm definitely not married to it at all. It's just I'm not obsessing over that. Like, I just wanted to get the script done and not obsess over the name.
Gotcha.
But
if we come up with anything, we'll let you know. Yeah. But
yeah. Feel free.
But okay.
Anyone else have any other thoughts, or are we good?
I have one other thought, which is about Pamela, that I would love to know more about her, who she is, her character, and why is she staying there? Because my question is like, why is she with him? Why is she taking care of him? What's going on with her that she keeps herself in this situation? And yeah, and and somehow she expressed those wishes of, I think she expressed the wishes of him changing and everything. But also, yeah, I would like to know how maybe, I don't know how they met or how the things going. Why is she still there? Why is she still taking care of him? What keeps her on this situation? Or like, it's something that I find it would be interesting to see in my view. Yeah.
I think, like, from my the way I thought of it is like, it was like the frog in the pot, like slowly boiling. Like, they both met when she was kind of like a groupie kind of gal and he was a rocker, and they wound up having a kid and probably like got married, slightly caused by that. And like, that's why I feel like the friend is like the impetus to like get out of the relationship. She's like the objective opinion, like, this guy is like, not, you're past where this guy is in life, and he's like, leave him behind. But I don't disagree with you. Like, I think that should come through, like, in some way, shape, or form. So I will definitely look into that.
It does seem Sadie does have a relationship with, despite everything, she likes his singing and everything. So maybe that's at least that's what I kind of took it as. Oh, well, at least he's good to, I think she actually does say, at least you're good to Sadie or something like that, something along those lines. So I don't know, that's.
And not only that, I think she's very family orientated. I mean, there was a scene where it kind of showed us that she was a fan of the group, and they met kind of like almost similar to Annie, but they end up taking a little bit further. And I could imagine they have a kid, they got married, so it's like she's not the kind of person like to have a kid and then like, oh, give up on a person very easily. It's like, oh, F them, I'm taking my kid and take you for child support. I'm taking you for all you got. You can't see me. No, to me, I think I just see her as she actually she's actually into the traditional family unit. And she's trying her best to, give this a chance. So maybe you could, kind of, I don't know, maybe she has a relationship I know she has a relationship with a friend. I forgot the friend's name, but somehow, it came across to me, but maybe, I don't mean to add any characters, but maybe she talks to her mother and she gets advice from the mother, and the mother she's probably, married to her father for 30, 40 years. You know what I'm saying? And then you have a contrast with your best friend. Her best friend will probably get pregnant, and as soon as I guess the baby's father calls wrong, it's like, oh, I'm taking your child for, I'm tired of your shit. You know what I mean? So you got kind of like that, the contrast there. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Okay, we all settled with script. Karis, you want to say something or?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say thank you again to Ryan for sharing your script with us. You know, this is your first thing, and this is your first meeting, and you came in and were really receptive to all of the help we were trying to give you, and that is what makes writing better, is when you can accept the help and also share the journey of accepting the help. That's what makes you a better writer. And we're excited to go on this journey with you. And it takes a lot of freaking bravery to give somebody something and be like, here, I wrote this thing, and you did it, and this is something that you should be proud of. And
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We can celebrate you, and then as soon as you get off, go back to work. But right now,
I appreciate you guys like taking the time to read this. I mean, I know it's not. I'm sure it took you more than a couple hours. It's not 127 minutes to read it. But I really appreciate it, and this is really helpful for me.
Good. We're very glad that we could help you out. But yeah, no, it was a fun read. Most of all, overall, I think you do definitely have something, as you could probably tell by our, the discussion that your piece was able to bring up. But I mean, just a few formatting things. I think clear up some character motivation here and there. And I think you really have something that you can present either to a screenwriting competition or even studios, because this definitely it's an interesting take on sort of I don't know what do they call it, stunted growth, sort of comedies, and yours isn't really a comedy, but it's sort of along those lines. But no, good stuff all around.
I have a question. When the eye, takes over and stabs the ice pick into his forehead, does Zach, does he actually die? And then the eye kind of is like, oh, it's taken over. I can't remember. I mean, what is that the idea or no?
Well, yeah. So like your decision making part, I'm not a neurologist, but as far as I have gotten, your personality is in the front of your head, and the rest of Zach's brain is like, you have your motor functions back there and like stuff like that. But the eye that's in his chest is also the same kind of brain tissue that's here. So really he's lobotomizing the old Zach, and then the brain that's in his chest effectively takes over.
Okay, yeah, because it's kind of like I'm kind of looking at that as kind of like the coup de grace, so to speak, of the old Zach, and kind of harkening back to the whole situation with Dom, kind of like you upping the stakes, and it's gotten so bad that could be a motivating factor for that coup de grace. That's like, something, I tried to help you, but you keep fucking up, and you keep fucking up even worse. And it's like, something, make the final decision, that's just kind of, what I'm thinking. I'm just throwing it out there. So.
Mhm. No, I thought you left it ambiguous, especially with the last part with the eye opening up again. I didn't know if that was Zach, trying to exude some sort of control. But I'm glad you left it a little ambiguous whether or not old Zach is completely gone or somewhere else.
Yeah.
I think that's.
I wouldn't write in that
Mhm.
he is effectively gone, but
Right.
he
Mhm.
is.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I just think, but like the eye, there's no reason for the eye to be gone.
Mhm.
So like, and this is the new normal for
Mhm.
her, So that's kind of like where
Okay.
the that's where it, and how
Mhm.
this is the new normal is really,
Gotcha. Yeah. Sure. Okay.
I just want to say, like, it's always a success whenever anybody can complete a script, or even if it's just the first draft, because I heard a saying where it would take that you've written 10 scripts to actually become good. I forgot who said that, but so the more scripts you can complete, because a lot of people like myself, I mean, I did complete one last year, my first draft, so to speak, and I've done like shorts, but yeah, the more feature length films, scripts you can write, I mean, the better. So that in and of itself is success. So
I always say, you got to make bad movies to make good movies, and I
yeah,
think it's the same thing with writing. Like this was really what I thought was like the bad script that I wanted to get out of the way. But I mean, when I was done, I was like, I gotta. Maybe it's not that bad. I don't know. I kind of dig it. I dig the originality of it. So, I go into a movie and I'm like, show me something I haven't seen before. And I feel like if I saw this in a theater, I would say, all right, I haven't seen that before.
yeah. So I encourage you to keep going, keep writing more drafts to this until you're satisfied with it, and continue to write more features. So, all right.
Thanks.
Mhm. All right. Yeah. All right. Good stuff. All. Depending on if everyone else has a little bit more time left in their night or morning, as it is in Thais's case, we usually go over script pitches or story pitch ideas that people have simmering around in their heads and they want to get a little input on. Or if anyone wants help on log lines, you can do that for a few more minutes before we say goodbye. If so, yeah, the floor is to everyone else. Script pitches or help with log lines.
I mean, not to commandeer the whole thing, but if I have a log line, I was wondering if maybe you guys could
Mm-hmm.
take a look and see what you thought.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So the log line, I'll try to put up in the chat the log line you gave out. Is it on? It's not on
yeah, no, I gave that.
Yeah, you
to
gave it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gave it to me in the email. Yeah, in our email.
What is the log line to this this script?
Just a second. I'm going to try to bring it up. Uh, Yeah.
So what we do during when we construct log lines is each of us will copy and paste the log line that you've given us, and we will workshop it live. So
Okay.
you'll see us like sort of being quiet, but we're looking off or like rewriting something so that we can retype it in the chat, so that you will have copies of just the different iterations, and you can take screenshots or come back and watch the YouTube video. And so you can see them in real time to know that we're working on the problem, and we're not going to email you. We're going to do it right now. So
Right,
that's
we're
what
trying to
you're doing.
Yeah, so I'm just reading over my own words. It's just why. So yeah, as we find out, there's no real general like rule of thumb with long lines. It's just you have to workshop and workshop and workshop them until it's like until the best version of it. Yeah, but something along those lines. You want to have at least your main character, maybe a few others described, and then so the character, what they want, and then sort of the conflict. It's the best way to go about it, or a mix-up of either. Okay, that's
About it. It's like straightforward, but there's something like I'm missing like a core part of the story. And
See, I think just being vague about it isn't quite enough. So I think, there's an eye in the back of his head, that would be at least attention grabbing. So instead of just being vague, in this case, generally, yes, it's good to be vague on sort of that sort of thing, but it is and I also like abnormal medical condition at least, because when you use like rare medical condition or bizarre medical condition, I guess, yeah, it's sort of, I think it's fine to be specific here and just say what it is, because that's attention grabbing.
That's the name of the
it's also the name of it's also the name of the script.
And also it's in the first scene. So
yeah, that's what I was just saying.
It's not a
right in the
problem
first
to
scene,
be. Yeah, it's not a problem to be.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I do dig that, like little opening of like, yeah, the may lead to stardom.
May lead to stardom their entire life. Mm-hmm.
I like it. Yeah.
It's got that like good ironic thing, like it's the thing he wants, but not how he wants it.
Not he wants it. Exactly.
Right. It also leaves the reader with a question. It's like,
what?
How is it gonna lead to it?
Yeah.
And then I will naturally want to watch it. I'm gonna watch that. We're buying tickets. We're going to the theater for this. I like that open-ended question at the end.
Yeah, nice.
I will be leaving now, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Thais, for coming, chiming in at a very early hour. Everything, hopefully you can get some rest, and hopefully you can join us at future forums. But no, thank you for joining us. Yes, it's great. Great.
Thank you, Thais.
All right, have a good night.
Bye.
Have a good one. Yep.
Have a good night.
Okay, so if nothing else, we'll see you. This was a great discussion. I'm glad we could get these going again. We kind of took a hiatus over the summer, but I'm glad we could get Ryan was able to provide a great way to sort of kick off our fall season, I guess we're going to call it, here with the Boston Screenwriters Group. But I can't wait to read.
Tuesday.
Okay, sounds good. Good. Okay.
I'm a Tuesday guy, so if you get more of these on a Tuesday, then I'm in.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll stick with Tuesday then, and then we'll hopefully we'll see each other soon then with another script from a member, or even a script from one of these fine people. So okay. All right. So have a good night then. It was great seeing everyone, talking with everyone, especially with Karis and Kenyatta. But and Ryan, thank you again as always for submitting your work. And then, yeah, we'll hope to see you again and more scripts from you.
All right, take it easy, guys.
All right, take it easy, everyone. Take care. Be safe.
All right.
Thanks.
All right.
Bye.